In the Gospel of Luke, chapter 23, we read about a man named Herod, who was the ruler of Galilee. Actually, his name was Herod Antipas. Only once did he meet Jesus face to face, and this is the story of that meeting. Herod Antipas had to go to Jerusalem for the Passover festival. His father, Herod the Great, had been king in Jerusalem, and Antipas had always wanted the crown for himself. But officially he had no right to the title. Herod kept getting reports about a preacher in the Galilee region, Jesus of Nazareth. Jesus gave food to the hungry, healed the sick, cast out demons, and performed miracles. Even Joanna, the wife of Herod's steward, was a follower of Jesus, and many of the people believed Jesus was the true king of Israel. Jesus too was now on his way to Jerusalem. As he came, people started to shout, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." 500 years before Christ, the prophet Zechariah had written about this. "Shout, O daughter of Jerusalem, behold your king is coming to you. He is humble and riding on a donkey." But as Jesus entered Jerusalem, he knew he was being watched by the Romans, who controlled the city. In less than a week, he was arrested by the chief priests and handed over to the Roman governor, Pontius Pilate. He was accused of making trouble in the region of Galilee. But Galilee was under the control of Herod, so Pontius Pilate gave the case to him. It was a clever move by Pilate. He thought he could get out of a difficult case and pay a compliment to Herod at the same time. And since Herod was visiting Jerusalem, he was expected to try the case immediately. For some time, Herod had wanted to see Jesus, and now at last he had the opportunity. But the situation was difficult. The chief priests in Jerusalem wanted to have Jesus put to death, but many of the people in Galilee thought he was a local hero. Killing him, as the priests demanded, might be very unpopular. Put him in prison? No, that would be asking for trouble. But Herod must do something. It might be safer to turn the whole thing into a joke. Ask him to perform a miracle, a magic trick, a demonstration of supernatural powers. The chief priests had plenty to say, stirring up trouble in Galilee, claiming to be king of the Jews. Had he nothing to say for himself? Did he really want to die? Jesus was silent. Herod called for a bright robe. He had plenty of old cloaks. If Jesus was king of the Jews, then he ought to look like one. Pontius Pilate had paid a compliment to Herod, sending Jesus to him. He too would be generous and clever and send him back to Pilate. Pontius Pilate made his decision and executed Jesus by crucifixion. The placard which described the crime of which Jesus was guilty read, "Jesus of Nazareth, the King of the Jews." 3 days later, Joanna went to pay her last respects to the body of this man, this king. The tomb was empty, and Jesus was alive again. Herod Antipas went back to his palace in Galilee. People talked about the resurrection of Jesus, but he chose to ignore it. Herod Antipas already knew so much about Jesus. He knew about his preaching and his miracles. More than once he tried to see him. But on the one occasion, when Herod Antipas found himself face to face with Jesus, he was in a difficult situation, and he wanted a way out, and he wanted to look clever. So he turned the whole thing into a joke. Now, you and I wouldn't do a thing like that, would we?